Hi, welcome to this week's Hospitality News Roundup. There's a couple of big stories that I think we all know about by now, with James Watt stepping down from BrewDog and Thornbridge Brewery taking on the Brewdog Union system from Carlsberg. But that's only two of the stories, so having a look around what's going on. First of all, the hospitality sector is definitely struggling. There's no doubt about it. There's a recent report that was done by the UK Hospitality, British Beer and Pub Association and British Institute of Innkeeping, has announced that 2/3 of hospitality venues have saw a like-for-like drop in profits in the first quarter of 2024, and a third of venues are operating at either a loss or just breaking even. So this is in comparison with the first quarter of 2023, and it's basically saying that they're not making money. The profits are dropping, and some of them are really struggling to actually even make money and are starting to lose money. Now, this is really bad for the industry, and this is made even worse because these organisations are the ones that are always proclaiming how the members are doing great in terms of growth and great in terms of turnover and revenue. But for their members to then also turn around and say, well, actually, we're not making any money on that, is showing that they're only surviving by this growth. They're increasing the turnover purely so that they can keep the profit that they actually were getting. And in some cases, they're not even getting that anymore. And this isn't sustainable because the growth is coming at the expense of other venues which are going out of business. So we may be seeing the same number of pubs, but they're becoming owned by fewer and fewer companies, which isn't great for consumer choice. And it doesn't bode well for the industry itself on an ongoing basis, because growth will stop and then those companies won't be able to continue. And this is all because all of the costs are rising. And it's quite interesting to see this from the view of one particular chain, Wetherspoons. Now, they've been spamming the media press circuit, the press release circuit this week, with lots of articles about how Guinness is doing great and is selling really well for them, and how their wine sales are growing really well, and how they're keeping the 3.8% version of the lager, not the 3.4% that allows for the lower duty relief on it. They have also quietly reported that their profits are down, and they've also in this last quarter disposed of 18 pubs. So we hear that, big press releases saying that they're opening this new venue or they're planning this new venue. They've got rid of 18 pubs in the last quarter. So in the last 3 months, they've got rid of 18 pubs. So that's 6 pubs a month that they're getting rid of. And we're only hearing about a pub every 2 or 3 months opening up. So even Wetherspoons is starting to shrink its estate. Now, one of the reasons for the drop in profits, we're starting to see this coming through. This is the next part we're covering here now, is the rise in minimum wage for staff. This has cut into the already small profits that pubs were making, and pubs, bars, restaurants, cafes, they were all making only a small amount of profit anyway. And this rise in the minimum wage has cut into that because all of the costs of everything else are rising as well. So the money isn't there to pay for the minimum rise increase. There's a lot more to it. But basically, what we're also now starting to see is that pubs, bars, restaurants, hospitality venues are starting to cut staff hours to try and make up for this. So on a Friday night, you would have 10 staff on the bar. You've now got 9 or 8. These staff are having to work harder in an already hard job because the venue can't afford to get in as much staff as it needs. So by not getting in these extra staff or two, they're using what would have been the wages for that to cover the wage rise for those that are still there. So this whole thing about making sure everyone's getting paid a better minimum wage has actually seen some people lose their jobs completely. And this is going to put off people coming into the sector anyway, because we're already still struggling from getting enough people to come and work in hospitality. And it's crappy work. There's no doubt about it. It's hard. It can be really rewarding and really good fun, but not if you're working this hard, and it's going to get harder and harder. So something needs to be done to sort that out, but something needs to be done to sort out the industry, really. And I don't think any government at the moment is even planning on addressing it, which really doesn't work out well for us all. What they have done, is they've decided that they will be allowing a relaxation of the licensing hours for the Euro semi-finals later this year if England or Scotland reach those semi-finals. Whoopee. This is something that they can just say, yeah, we'll do that, and they've done it. It's taken no work, no real effort on their behalf. And I've got to say, I seem to be the only person against this. There is already a way through temporary event notices where a venue who wants to screen these matches can just put in for an application to get an extension. Most of the time, it's granted without any real query about it. I used to do it at our venue as well. So any venue that is planning to show them and say, yeah, we're going to show it, they can get this temporary event notice, they can extend their hours, and they can screen these matches. They're the ones that are setting out, taking the risk, and doing it for their regulars and for the fans. And what this new thing means is just that, if it goes well, then all the other venues can cash in on the sudden success, which then takes some of the trade away from those venues that have taken the risk. So I will say on this, yes, it's great that there is a relaxation in licensing hours, but if you're going to go along and watch the Euros, and England or Scotland do continue to do well, stay at the venues that have been screening the matches all the way through, the ones that have actually been making the effort, the ones that have applied for the extension well in advance. Don't do what happened during the last matches when all of these went on in the rugby and all that and the football, where all of a sudden the big town venues were able to go, oh look, they're doing well, we can make some money off that, and bug off to those, because the smaller venues and the ones that are putting in the effort, they will have spent some money to do this, and then they just get shafted. So I think it's a bit of a sort of like a double-edged sword of that. We need the relaxation, but without a bit more planning, it's just going to take the trade away from those that actually have done the planning. So yeah, I think I'm the only one that doesn't really agree with the way that it's been done. But moving on, before I start ranting about this, so on to the big news stories now, and I can assure you this is just tea. James Watts has stepped down as CEO of BrewDog, and there's lots of opinions about BrewDog, there's lots of opinions about James Watts, there's lots of opinions about this, but there's been a lot of comments as well, and what it looks like is that he's just become too toxic for the brand. So there's still a huge amount of issues at their Waterloo Fun pub. I'm sorry, but any venue with a slide in it's more like a wacky warehouse than a pub, but there we go. There's still ongoing issues related to the issues highlighted at the BBC Disclosure programme when they went in and did some investigation and reporting on that. And then he was seen at Nigel Farage's birthday party. So he has become a very polarising character. He's always been a big character, and now it's very, very polarising, and it's making the brand even more toxic than before. Now, why this suddenly has become an issue, I think the keenest insight I've seen to this was from Matthew Curtis, who runs the Pellicle magazine. He's pointed out that BrewDog have got an investment deal with TSG, and that expires in August. Now, these were the people that invested millions into BrewDog so I think it's something like close to $250,000 for a 22% share in the company, and they want a return on that. They will be wanting some money back, and this looks like what is happening, because it's so soon that this deal finishes in August, that they're looking to clean ship. So it seems that what we seem to be expecting to happen is that James is taking a much backseat. Don't get me wrong, he's not left BrewDog. He's just no longer the figurehead of it. So he's stepping back. They'll try and clean ship, and then we're potentially going to see either a complete sale, or what is more likely is the promised IPO, the initial public offering of shares that has been rumoured for quite a while, we might actually see that happening. So at the moment, there's no change. BrewDog is still BrewDog. James Watt is still on board, but we might start, with any luck, start see it clean up its act. We can, hope. So moving on, and a bit of a nice news, but again, there's a little bit behind it. So Carlsberg Marston's Brewing Company have helped Thornbridge Brewery install the Burton Union system, or a small part of it. First and foremost, this is great. The Burton Unions needed saving, and I think Thornbridge are the right place for it to go to. So Garrett Oliver from Brooklyn Brewery is a big fan of English cask beers. He's a really big fan of its heritage and its history. He's really done a lot of work promoting this sort of style of beers over in the States. And he's an all-round really, really nice guy and is so knowledgeable about it all. So he stepped in and helped Thornbridge Brewery get the Burton Union system from Carlsberg Marston's. Now, Carlsberg are pushing out this big heritage washing thing about how great a company they are. They're celebrating the 50th year of their Northampton brewery. They've got these union systems coming in. But what's a little bit behind the scenes on this is they were about to scrap the union system, to send it off to scrap. They weren't interested in selling it or doing anything like this, and they got a huge public backlash about that. And they've also got, Carlsberg Marston, they closed down all of the Marston's breweries and shifted brewing off to a central place. So they're not that fond of heritage, and they're also at loggerheads at the moment with CAMRA and a lot of drinkers by putting keg beer through a hand pump, this misleading dispense. So this does seem like a bit of heritage washing from them. And then also the relationship with Garrett Oliver here is Carlsberg have the brand rights for Brooklyn beers in Europe. So Garrett works with them anyway, but I reckon what's happened there is he's used his contacts and his influence to step into there and say, look, guys, don't be dicks. Let's just get these to somewhere that we can actually host them. And Thornbridge, as I said, I think a perfect company to take these on. They were instrumental in saving Kellam Island Brewery, or rather, they've got the Kellam Island beers. The Pale Rider is brewed at Thornbridge at the moment, but I had a chat with them a while ago, and they are planning on setting up a new Kellam Island Brewery in Sheffield when the time is right, and they've got that sorted out. So yeah, I think it's a good, stable company for this. I think Thornbridge have done a really good job, and I really look forward to seeing what they do with these union system. It's not an easy system to work with, but if you get it right, you can produce some really, really good beers on it. So I think Thornbridge are the ones to do this. Good for them. And to end on a bit of a high note, even though that last one was a bit of a high note, it was the annual Museum of Cider's competition this week, and this is a cider competition that's open up to cider makers all over the world. And as an example, the Polish entries did some really well this year, but the overall winner was a guy called Sam Everett, who entered his homebrew and beat everybody. Now, I'm absolutely loving this. It's really just showing this guy entered a single variety Dabener cider that he made at home. He just beat all of the professional commercial brewers. Now, this just really highlights that the idea of homebrew being awful is just so outdated. It really is. And whether it's cider, wine or beer, homebrew is really, really good these days. And I just love that this guy has just rocked out with a demijohn of cider and wiped the floor with multinational operations. So it's brilliant. I really do. Congratulations, Sam. Massive achievement. And yeah, I'd like to see more competitions where amateurs compete against the professionals, because I do think we'd start seeing some changes of attitude, shall we say. So, ending on a great note for a change. Cheers.